I'm Michael Sandstrom. I'm the guy who wrote the motor chapter, and I teach at Central Michigan University here in Mount Pleasant. It's right in the middle of the glove, and I teach neuroscience, and I'm in the psychology department, so I sort of oscillate between those two. Largely, I've been teaching graduate level classes, but I really love to teach from the beginning because I love to inspire.
What advice would you give to your undergraduate self?
I'm actually really glad this question was on the list because I think hearing a professor say this is important. When I was an undergraduate, I was one of those typical students who was kind of nervous about going and talking to the professor. And I wanted to on several occasions. A lot of times I wouldn't get certain things. And I felt like I sort of needed to huddle down and just try to understand it myself or maybe ask my friends. But when I realized that professors actually love it when students come to talk to them because it gives them an opportunity to reword certain things or talk about it in a different way, um, I actually got a lot out of that. And I now, as a professor, love that. And I want that feeling to come across that this is something that we encourage. It's not something that shows a sign that students are doing poorly. In fact, the ones that usually come and talk to us, most of the time, they actually do better in the class.
What does your research focus on?
Right now, there's a whole lot of stuff that's been going on with respect to stem cells and how they can incorporate into the brains of patients that have deteriorative diseases like Parkinson's and Huntington's disease. And I've been researching how I can show with freely moving animals that improvements are not only going on, but that these cells are somehow incorporating into the network in such a way where their function looks very similar to the function of the intact, normal animal in this case, using animal models.
What type of opportunities are there for undergrads in your lab?
So, when we first started the program, neuroscience in our area, it was a major goal to have students working in the lab and learning from within the lab as much as possible. And so, from the time when students are freshmen, it's possible for students to get involved in research. And what we try to do is to promote doing that from the beginning, because as you probably know, when you start doing that, it takes a little while before it's possible to do the cool stuff and to involve yourself into these procedures that are really exciting and whatnot. You have to have a learning curve. And it's also important to actually learn what it's like in different labs so that you can compare, working with this person or that person. Right now, I have at least six students, undergraduate students, working in my lab. And the graduate students actually help guide them and use them as a troupe to do a whole bunch of different things. And they learn a whole lot of different things to the point where they can be experts in it themselves. And we can count on them to do one thing over here while other students are doing other things over there. It just increases the efficiency like crazy. And yeah, it's also correlated with the courses that they take so that they can know a little bit more about what's going on when you talk about neurons. Oh, I've seen a neuron before, things like that.
How did you choose your field of study?
So I don't think it's unique, but to me, it feels that way because so often different disciplines divide so seemingly apparently distinctly right now. But when I started out, I got a lot of philosophy and I was hearing things about what were they called the mind body problem and the whole way that the mind actually was able to activate movement and whatnot and how decisions are made and thinking about it from sort of a almost metaphysical kind of perspective. And then I found neuroscience in the context of that and people doing experiments with brains and whatnot. It's, oh, I got to do this. This is so cool. And so, because I had gone so far with philosophy, first of all, and some psychology, I kind of had to start from scratch with the biology of it. And I got involved in that in a major way because a professor indicated to me that biology sort of evens the playing field in terms of the way that we talk about these things. Everyone can understand something that they can see, but people can't really understand things that people are thinking and wishing and whatnot. Um, so it was very helpful. So I was kind of inspired in that direction, and ever since I've just been hooked.
What do you like to do outside of work?
I'm also glad this question was added because it's so easy to imagine professors as being these sort of robotic entities that live in the university and just do this one thing, and then they sort of go to sleep and come back and do the one thing again. And everyone has to have satisfaction in their lives. Everyone has to have something that's inspiring and can allow them to enjoy themselves in other kinds of ways. Mine is music. And I've actually been singing in a barbershop a cappella group for at least 3 years now and just love it. And the harmonies that can be produced.